Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Seafarer Social Podcast. Today I'm speaking with a very special guest, Mr. Karanvir Singh. He is a fantastic seafarer. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with him. Over 100,000 followers on Instagram, over 400,000 subscribers, on YouTube. He works for Maersk as a third mate. Am I right, Karanvir?
Second mate now.
Second mate. Forgive me. Sorry, second mate. He's soon coming over to the UK to do his studies and develop his career on board further. But what I think is really special about Karanvir and why I'm so excited to speak to him today is he was probably one of the first pioneers when it came to creating high-level social media content while working on board. Karanvir is someone that is regularly on board Maersk vessels, big bulk carriers, and his content is extremely crisp, extremely relatable, and very high quality. But before we get into all of that, I'll start off by saying, hi, Karanvir, how are you?
Hi, Carl. Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here. I've been seeing the work you're doing. And it's great that someone is trying to bridge these gaps between the top leaders and getting them on the platform, sharing their information, sharing the knowledge. And like you said, I tried to start off by giving the cadets information. And what you've done is try to start off by giving the cadets a perspective on what the backbone of shipping industry is all about with the great leaders and connecting them basically. So thank you for what you're doing, and it's a pleasure to be here, Carl.
It's an absolute honor to have you here, Karanvir. My career started off in the Philippines, and I kind of first became familiar with Filipino seafarer influencers. But when I started Seafarer Social and I started to look at the other labour markets, as soon as I started speaking to people within India, who do you think are the really good role models that I should be speaking with? Everybody said you got to speak to Karanvir. This is the guy. What amazes me as well is that you're only, you're a very young guy as well. You're 29 years old, am I right?
Right,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
you're 29, I'm 28, and you've already made extremely huge leaps within the industry. And of course, you've just recently started your own podcast as well. Please, if anybody's listening to this, take the time to listen to Karanvir's podcast. He has
Thank you.
he has a fantastic podcast that he's doing in studio, face to face, with some great guests in India. Karanvir, let's start from the beginning. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you from the offset to pursue a career in the maritime industry, and what was the defining moment that made you realize that this was the path you wanted to take?
So, Carl, you'll be surprised. This profession was my second option. My first priority was to join the defense force, as my life has been in the defense because of my father. So I always aspired to become an officer in the special forces of India. So, by God's grace, let's say it didn't happen. And my second priority was the shipping. Why? Because it's a standard answer. First, I didn't want to sit in front of computers and work all day. I wanted something different, something where I can move around, something which is not stationary. So, to be frank, it was because the sailing days, you're not stationary at a position. So, in my childhood, I was always traveling with my father. We never stayed put in one place. So, that kind of gave me a spark that this industry is something which can give me that. And it did. So, that's how it all started. And I started back in 2012 as a trainee in the pre-sea, and in 2015 end I got my first ship. It was a different moment, something very different from what I had expected, which generally and usually happens after the training. But it has been good so far, and that's how it all began. And I'm very happy I couldn't make it to the defense forces because I couldn't be doing YouTube then.
Well, of course. And also,
Yeah.
forgive me for being presumptuous,
Yes.
but I think you'd probably be earning less money as well, right?
Absolutely, and the money is less. Of course, there are other perks in the defense,
Yeah,
but like I said, the greatest perk here is I can put across a message via video format, audio format, which is strictly confidential in the defense forces. So that's why I say it's a blessing that I couldn't get through.
for sure. Okay, so how long have you been a seafarer for? How many years now have you been at sea?
It's been exactly 9 years,
Okay.
and yeah, roughly I have around 50 plus months sea time out at sea. And yeah, I just became a second mate last year. and it's been good so far. Yes,
Nice. So
yes.
when in those last 9 years, when did the inspiration to start filming something,
Mhm.
creating social media, and what was the first video or piece of content that really launched your community?
Right. So I'll take you back to 2020, which was hard for the entire world. In fact, in January end, I was on board a ship, and we got the news that the Chinese ports are going to shut down, and I was due for sign off. So what had happened was I was in that state that is known as the sign off mode, where you just want to get off by hook or by crook. Like you will fight with everyone to get back home, but the circumstances got such that even the captain or the company couldn't do anything, and we were in China, and we got to know that there is some virus happening. That okay, virus and all keeps happening, at least they can give me one day to just get back to India. So that's where it started. It was a spark that the amount of patience required by a seafarer and the amount of struggle to get back home was an initiating factor for me to just go beyond what is there, what is just the primary job. So anyway, I was very lucky that I could get off from Korea that time, all thanks to the captain of that ship and the company. I went back home, and the next day the lockdown happened in India. So I was like in a state of mind that my seafarer guys on ship are going to get stuck now. We're going to get due for sign off, but I didn't do anything about it. I was just feeling bad, being very honest. Of course, nobody could do anything. So by the end of 3 months at home, as you remember, all the nurse, doctors, everybody were given this essential worker tag, and they were moving around.
Yeah.
Yet seafarers were still not given that, and they were doing all the shipment. Like the ships did not stop. Work was going on, all operations were going on, yet the suffering was the same, like lack of provisions, ports restrictions, mental turmoil for people whose family are suffering at home, and they are on the ship helpless. So it just started playing in me that if I was in their boot, which I was for a very short amount of time, how would I feel? And that really took me aback. Like I was heartbroken that first India is not doing something about it. Second, the world is also not doing anything about it. Of course, it's a very big thing to have this transportation during COVID-19, but it was not happening. So I thought, okay, my mother doesn't know what I do out at sea. My girlfriend doesn't know what I do out at sea. How tough it is. So my sister had given me a GoPro, in 2019, which was just lying around in my cabinet. I was always fond of photography, but never videography. So I thought maybe I'll just learn a skill during this free time, and I just did a basic editing course of video editing. So I compiled a video which we made during our vacation, and I really enjoyed the process. So I said, okay, COVID 19 tests are something which I will have to undergo when I will join the ship next time. Let me try to document that. So that was my first ever video where I documented as a seafarer what is required in the COVID 19 testing and what are the transportation requirements and documents which you need to carry to go on the ship. So it was just for a purpose to make the seafarers aware right now that this is the procedure of going to COVID 19 things. Eventually, they say creativity gets the best out of you, right? And I always say that it's a gift of a human being to have an intellect which can do creation. So slowly over time, I went to the next ship during COVID time. I just started doing short clips, like 2 minute videos from my GoPro. I was enjoying the GoPro as well as the stitching everything together in a story. What eventually turned out from it was a story which everybody wanted to hear, which was life at sea, which was like the unknown territory which people are always curious but have never seen on board ships. So I approached Musk. I told them that this is what I want to do. I sent them a few examples. I got some guidelines of what to do, what not to do. That's a standard protocol that the brand name should not be hurt by your representation. So they eventually liked the work. I made a few videos for them, and that's how I said, okay, let me just start putting it on YouTube. First, I was doing only on Instagram. So YouTube was something which I used to watch other vloggers like Casey Neistat, if you know Casey. So I used to like how they stitch up, their life and all. So I thought I have a gift of the sea. Let me show them life at sea, and that's how the operation of seasons came in, and it was like in my head a Netflix series. So it was just me doing a Netflix series for my mother. This is season 1, I'm on this ship. Season 2, on that ship, this is what's happening. Eventually I've landed in a very beautiful place because of the support of the family, the company, and of course the seafarers and the aspirants who are watching. And it just gives me motivation now to keep giving them awareness and knowledge of whatever is out there as a nature seeker, and as well as someone who can provide real-time operations of relating the knowledge which you get at the training institutes to relating it to onboard practical application. So that's how it happened. COVID-19 was the game changer for, I think, majority of the world, and it gave me this opportunity.
Amazing! What an awesome story. So just to go back, the
Yes.
first video that really took off was the one where you were showing seafarers the
Mhm.
COVID procedure. How many
Uh,
views? How much engagement did that video get?
so that did not reach far. It was just, I guess, 20,000, 30,000. For me, that was big enough. Imagine a stadium of a football field fills around 1,000,
Yeah,
hardly 1,000. So I'm looking at it like that. That 20,000 stadiums are looking at this particular person presenting. So that was a boost. Like 20,000 is also good. But the first video which took off was a Swiss Canal video, that unfortunate event which happened in the Evergreen ship which got stuck in Suez Canal. So before that, I had made just a Suez Canal transit. So while this thing happened, this video suddenly took off because everybody was curious
ah,
that, yeah, Suez Canal, what is Suez Canal? So they started watching that this guy has shown Suez Canal. Let's look at that. So that peaked to like millions of views. I was like, man, this is something which I didn't expect. And I was like, oh, there is so much power in a audio and a video platform. So I realized the power of social media that day. That a small news, not a small news, a big news, can give you a sense of direction and perception that what you're doing actually counts. Now it counts.
totally
So
agree. Yeah, it's all
yeah,
about the algorithms and what people are searching for,
right.
and you having a piece about the Suez Canal and then this tragedy happening.
Yep,
Although you're right, it is a tragedy from a social perspective. It gives
yep,
great reach to your content.
right.
Um, since then, so since 2020, obviously we've almost 5 years on since then. You've grown a massive follower basis. Does most of your community lie? Is it based in India or is it worldwide?
So the good part is I did it all in English. So it reached like 60% is Indian, 40% is rest of the world. And of course, it is not limited to just US and UK. People are watching from Australia, from South Africa, from Germany, because I think seafaring in Europe is still something which people aspire. They like it because it's coming from there. Like all the shipping things started from the UK, so people are still curious of what happens in sailing on sailing. So that's how I connected with audiences which are from Sweden, Germany, Hungary, Poland. I don't know which all places. So they were there to know about the storms which take place out at sea. They were there to see what all operations on massive ships happen as a curiosity of sailing and nature. In India, the target audience was how to join the shipping merchant navy to earn good money. Because that's how it is marketed here.
Yeah.
To have a good standard of living, earn well, and of course travel the world. That's like a very far fetched thing now because of the various restrictions. But the market of India is like that, and the market of the rest of the world is more of curious seekers about nature and sea life. So that's how the audience grew.
Nice. I think a lot of seafarer influencers actually were birthed during the 2020 period. When I speak to other guys and girls, they say that that's when they started making content as well. Um, we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, that there are these huge personalities that have developed across, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. One of the people I was speaking to here in the UK is a lady called India. She's a TikToker. She has about 50,000 followers, and she said to me that she started making content while during COVID. And originally, this is quite an interesting story. She built a follower basis of content that had nothing to do with being a seafarer. She was at home, and she was making fitness videos and cooking videos, and she started to get a really big audience. And the audience was primarily 18 to 25-year-old girls. And when eventually COVID died down, and then the seafarers went back to sea here in the UK, um, she carried on making content, but now it was around seafaring lifestyle. And she said to me, which something that really really struck me, and I'm wondering if this is the same for you. She said that the audience she built originally, they followed her for purposes mainly based around her charisma and her character, but they stuck around once she started making seafarer content because they found her work job lifestyle interesting. Now, what's even more powerful is that her followers started to message her and say, I really love the content you're putting out. How can I get into this? And that's a really, really important demographic, 18 to 25-year-old girls, right? So my question to you is, how often do you receive messages from your community inquiring about how they too can go down the pathway of becoming a seafarer?
Good question. So the thing is, if anybody wants to make content, number one, there has to be a particular objective to make a content. Okay, if you want to make content just to show it out there, it won't work. It might work for a month or a two, and then it will fizzle out because the algorithms will come into picture. You won't get money, and you will invest so much time that you will burn out. So first is to have an objective. Second is to find a sustainable way of earning a lifestyle perhaps from it. Because you can present everything out there. You are opening up, and if you're not doing something about it, you created a bond between you and your follower. So there has to be a mutual transaction. By that it doesn't mean money. It means you should keep giving them knowledge. In return, you will get what you call trust, and from that trust, if you can build out a product or something, you'll have distribution already. So you look at it as a as something which as a hobby can give you a side income as well. So objective, then a side income, and third is you should love it. You should not just do it for the heck of it, because you will burn out, and it is not an easy game. In fact, it is, in my opinion, even tougher than shipping, because you have to stay on there continuously, and it demands a lot of your energy, physical and mental. You gotta go shoot, you gotta invest in cameras, you gotta invest in microphones, then you gotta invest in editing. So it's a lot of, it demands capital, and if you're not getting any return, you will stop it. So social media takes 4 or 5 years to even get established to a base where you can now say that okay, you can you can get money from it.
Yeah.
So this is not a money making thing first. If your objective is clear, maybe you have a message. Suppose I had a message of putting out life at sea, so I was able to stay relevant and consistent. But if you're just doing it because looking at other, you seeing fame and thinking he's earning a lot of money, I'm sorry to say that's it's a lie which is being sold. It is not like that. It's a big lie, and social media is going to drain your mental energy, maybe even get you to a point where you might feel depressed. So it's a word of caution from someone who's done it for the past 4 or 5 years, that if you have an objective, if you have something to put across, go for it. It's like I told you, it's the best platform to generate awareness. But if you're doing it for fame or temporary pleasure or dopamine, you're gonna phase out very, very quickly. And the way it has developed now in the past 4 years, from what I had started to now, it's becoming even more competitive. Like you
Mm.
said, 18 to 25-year-old girls, so many must be there, millions, even thousands follow it. A same kind of a thing. You again have thousand competition. How do you tackle competition as well as algorithm, as well as marketing, as well as branding, and it's not a source of income. So I call it a hobby. I call it a side hustle. It will convert into a job only if you stick to it for more than 5 6 years. Can you do it? That's my question to the people who want to join it.
It's a great question. It's a great question. I think you're totally right. a lot of people, they see social media sometimes as low hanging fruit. Um, Actually, it couldn't be further from the truth. You're right. It's a complete grind, and some people are going to make it, and sadly, some people won't. Um, but going back to my question, I'm interested. Do you still
Oh,
have those seafarers that message you and ask you about the how
yeah.
to start a career as a seafarer?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot about the question. I
No,
just went to the second part. The first question, yeah. So every day, people are like especially aspirants ask how to join this profession. Number one, second, they want to join it because they think they can go out at sea and make content, which is the totally opposite approach. First, you get into it, learn what is there, and then you think about content. So yes, people from the age of particularly 16 to 20 who are still in their school days, looking at perhaps big cars being presented on the social media and money and uniform. That's how the marketing is, and it's not anybody's fault. It's someone is doing it for their own like they like to do it, but that's far from the truth. So yes, I keep getting questions, but I never reply that, yeah, you can become a content creator or like this, and you
yeah,
can earn. I tell them, first find a good college, get sponsored by a company, work around, become an officer, and if you get time and if you're interested, try it out for the first 100 videos. If you can make 100 videos, then I can guide you. If you can't make it, even God cannot help you in this social media thing. So yeah, so it's yeah, I become very upfront like this, that because my mentor told me the same thing: make 100 videos, come back to me, I'll guide you. Then make 100 videos. You also know, being into this particular field, it's a task which is mammoth. It's a
yeah,
mammoth task. Yeah, 100
I
crisp
agree.
videos.
100%
Yeah,
totally agree.
yeah,
There's a continuous pressure as someone who creates content to not stop because it's a volume game, but equally at the same time you have to also consider quality,
yeah,
quality plus volume.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think you've made some really interesting points there. So let's fast forward to today. You've grown your accounts, you've developed this community. How is your relationship with your employer when it comes to your social media? How do Maersk approach your
Yeah.
social media platform? Are they happy about it? Do they support it? Is it something they encourage?
I think, being upfront, Musk is the best company who has taken the advantage of social media and presented themselves out there that they are open for new things. And they gave me the full opportunity to run something. So it's all first thanks to the company that they allowed. And why I'm saying this, because I know many people from different companies. There are a lot of restrictions, and of course it's up to each organization, but they're forward thinkers,
Yeah,
and they know the power of social media. They knew it, that in fact, before me even starting this, they already had an Instagram page which was very big. So they already knew what they're doing, and there are some beautiful people in the social media department in Musk, which I'm in touch with, and they are really open-minded people, love what they do. So they have supported me through and throughout. Because of that, I could reach even to my like employer in India, the Musk India office. I could reach out to people. They appreciate what I do. It's not a hate game which they have against me, that what are you doing, it's always a positive support which they're given, that appreciate it. In fact, they even message me that it's great what you're doing, because aspirants come and tell that I got into Musk only because Karanvir's video
wow,
showed what is life at sea on board these merged ships, and I present like 80 to 90% truth of whatever is out there. Some things I cannot show because, of course, it's that is only operational based. It's something which is something which you will learn only when you're on board. I cannot present it like that. So they appreciate the fact that they're getting recruitment. It's something which is like a win-win situation for both, for me also, for them also. So that's what I have perceived from this, and I'm like grateful, truly grateful to Musk.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, two things there. I think it's awesome that the people at Maersk are saying that they are having cadets approach them saying that they are inspired by Karanvir's content, which is just unbelievable. I mean, and I really think that, from the corporate side of maritime, lots of stuff is going out all the time about recruitment crisis. Where are we going to find the next generation of seafarers? And I
Hmm.
think that people like yourself and other influencers out there are going to be a huge, huge resource
Right.
in what inspires the next generation to actually go and apply to become a seafarer and study as a cadet.
Right.
The second thing is I couldn't agree more with what you say about Maersk as a whole in terms of being forward thinking. I think if you look at all of the big shipping companies, Maersk's social media strategy is by far the most human orientated social media strategy. If you go
Right.
through their feed, pretty much everything they put out is based around how we put our labor market first, how we support our seafarers, telling the
Yep.
stories of seafarers. And it's such a diverse labor market in terms of 1 minute there'll be a captain on there from Russia, next there'll be a rating from Ukraine, or a second mate from Philippines, or a chief engineer from India, or whatever. Like there's such a big range, and they tell the story of their people. So when you're if you're a seafarer, or more importantly, if you're a Maersk seafarer and you're seeing this, you think, my employer cares. My employer
Absolutely.
cares. And that's so powerful.
And that's one of the main guiding principles which I implemented in Merck, which is called constant care. So that's how it shows that it's not just a word that, like you rightly put, a captain from suppose Russia, and then a second mate from Ukraine, and then someone from Myanmar. They have bridged what the shore is doing and what the seafarers are doing. And like you said, I have not seen in any other company that they give takeovers. Like they put seafarers in the social, like a takeover of the social media, and
Yeah.
the seafarer has the entire day to present how his day looks like on the Instagram platforms. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's forward thinking, right? To bring something like this
Super
alive.
forward thinking. I mean, I was recently speaking to another Maersk
Mhm.
influencer. He's a captain called Captain Thomas Lindegaard. You might be
Absolutely, yeah,
familiar. Yeah, you might be
yeah,
familiar with him. Really
yeah.
awesome guy. And he was telling me the story of an amazing brand move that Maersk done when they had the rainbow container, right? So they
Right.
called it the Rainbow Container Tour, where this
Yep.
container went around the whole world. And every time it was on board a new vessel, the seafarers that were carrying it were encouraged to write messages and reflect on what diversity means, right? Like
Right.
having something like that, it makes your brain think. It makes you think externally instead of thinking in a narrow-minded mindset. And like you said, no other brands are really doing stuff like that except Maersk, and I think it's really awesome.
Yep, absolutely. And can like see the amount of awareness they're generating with this rainbow container. I mean, it's truly commendable. Like I said, they are way ahead in terms of what they are doing. Way ahead. Like it will take time for others to even catch up to where they have reached right now. So that's what I appreciate about the social media, perhaps the strategy, because I just know that part of the business side. So it's wonderful, and people feel more at home. Like it's at home that yes, like the show team is looking after us in one way or the other. They are in touch with us. Otherwise, in shipping, what happens is the shore is somewhere here, the ship is somewhere here. There is the link is only with the captain, perhaps. You know,
Yeah,
it's
for
slowly
sure.
evolving. Yeah, it's slowly evolving, but Musk has already tapped that big time. So yeah, I give them all the credit. Like not
I
being
agree.
like biased, but this is what I see, and this is what has shaped me also. So yeah, that's there.
I think that you touched on a really important point there about how the employer, usually the captain, is the link between the crew and the employer. But
Hmm.
I actually think, and you're totally right, what Maersk do in terms of their social strategy and how they work with their seafarers means that every seafarer feels a relation to their employer, essentially. I think one of the really interesting things is obviously when it comes to shipping and seafaring, most shipping companies will hire through a crewing agency. and
Mm.
sometimes that therefore creates a disconnect between the seafarer and the shipping company, because there's that middleman that they deal with. They don't necessarily deal with anybody directly from the shipping company. I'm not
Right.
sure exactly what the recruitment the recruitment structure is for Maersk, whether they do it internally or whether they use crewing agencies. I imagine it's probably a little bit of both. But what I will say
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
because of what they do with social media, they eliminate that diversification between that divide between the employer and the seafarer, because they
Right.
make it so abundantly clear that we care about you, and that's really powerful.
Yeah.
And something that I'll also add to that, doesn't cost much money whatsoever to do. So people will say, yeah, but Maersk has the biggest budgets.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maersk is probably it does have the biggest budgets, but actually, what Maersk do from a social media perspective, it doesn't cost much money. All it takes is creativity and open mindedness.
Right. And I'll tell you that in India specifically have their own institute. It's a Maersk specific institute. So
Okay,
the
nice.
training, yeah, from the first day you are getting accustomed to the way of the culture of Maersk and what are the values which Maersk offers. So you're already attuned when you go on board that this is how the cultural fit is. And
Amazing.
I have been to that place and I know that it is so helpful that in the beginning you set the culture right, because on board then it automatically sets and the momentum is always there. So I mean, what a beautiful way to approach this. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add from Musk India perspective, how the recruitment has been, like what I've observed.
Nice. They
Yeah.
start to make the employees already within the culture from the early offset, which is
Right.
really, really important.
Right.
Um, I want to wrap up things on social media just by asking you one last question, and that
Mhm.
is, what do you think the future of social media and seafaring is?
Hmm. Good question. So the future, first of all, it's mixed. I have a mixed opinion. First is because of the rising number of people trying to. It's nothing bad, but trying to get there. They're putting up stuff which might just like I said, it's not about cars and money and all of that. It gives a perhaps a different context to the social media. So I am giving an awareness to the cadets or the aspirants that that's not it. Yes, this will come after 10 years, perhaps 15 years in your career. It's not coming now. The people who are already there are there for the past 10 years,
Yeah,
and now they can do it. So don't get inspired by just the outward perspective, what is being presented. But the positive sides of social media is number one, that being aware of what's happening in the industry first, and that's where you are also doing a bridging a big gap from the leaders. What's happening? Social media plays a big role. Then second is, after social media, you also get to know that the training which are being carried out in various institutes, you can correlate that with the visual representation. That suppose I'm showing the bridge tour of the ship, so yeah, you can after your institution's theoretical class, you can go on perhaps YouTube, watch a video of bridge tour, and you can directly have muscle memory of it in your from the visual appeal of it. This is how the egg dish looks, and this is what I was being taught. So this is where social media is a big player. I mean, just the platforms, it's allowing you to do so. So if someone can use the social media rightly, definitely they are one step ahead of someone who is not aware of how visually things look like, how
yeah,
operationally things like on ship. So I would say it's a big advantage which social media has bridged. I know, and I can endorse it. You know why? Because training institutes are playing my videos in India, and
amazing.
cadets are sending me pictures every day that, sir, your video is being played after the class, that this is how what we were taught in the theoretical is now being correlated on the video. And what a big blessing that is, which I did not have, and I just tried to solve that. And it's all about solving a problem. So that problem is solved via social media purely.
I
So I
agree.
don't see anything bad in social media. It's just how to use it and how to consume it. So most of us are consumers, so we should know how to consume it, and not get enamored by the various things. It's not the best way to shape your mind. especially
Yeah,
with shorts.
yeah, I agree. I think that
Yeah,
social media is so important for how the next generation consume content. And what I see is many people within the industry don't understand it, and because they don't understand it, they push it away because it's easier to do that for now. But actually, the next generation of seafarers are starting to come through. This is the only way they're going to consume content. This is the, there's no point of us sitting here and crying about how younger people have shorter attention spans. Instead of crying about it, actually use it as an advantage. How can I create content within that vicinity that therefore fits their attention spans? Because frankly, no 19, 20-year-old cadet is going to read a 20-page report anymore.
absolutely.
That's just, and if they do, they're not going to take it in. So they might do it just to make you feel happy, but actually, are they really taking it in? The important part.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can create something fun, engaging within 60 to 90 seconds, or even long format content, but keep it short, snappy, change the frame shots, change, these little things that are like basic media understanding. If you can create an engaging piece of content, that's how you're going to inspire the next generation and actually teach them
Yep.
and develop value. Because I think that's the most important thing with social media is it's actually a value proposing tool.
Yep. And I think maritime industry will realize it as you and I keep working forward in this domain, and they will. I can assure you, they will understand the power of speech and voice when it is presented on a public space. Right, like you summed it up correctly, it's about creating value. Yes, you can create value by putting something out there, and people like us perhaps who have some already established base of followers will definitely even hear you. They'll hear you out, in fact, whatever they're trying to do. So we have just started, you and I have just started scratching the surface of the depths of value which can be put across via a public open public forum, which is like a YouTube platform or perhaps LinkedIn, Twitter, and hardly anybody using it yet, but it will evolve, and shipping as it is works pretty late in terms of, I'm saying that
Yeah,
it takes time for it to come forward because there are a lot of regulations which have to come in force, approvals. But I think, as you said, seafarers are evolving with the social media. Even the top leaders are seeing the power of it. Somewhere in between there will be balance which will come, and it will be used to the best capacity.
totally agree. One of the things I want to talk to you about, Karanvir, is I'd like to learn how where you began to learn to speak so well. I think that lots of seafarers and officers have told me in the past, when you come from a country where it's multilingual, so there's either two languages that you speak, English being one of them. It's very important to be able to conduct English because it's the language of the world. Where did you learn but your English is not only very good, but you speak in such a way that demands attention, so much so that you actually did a TED talk, I believe, where you discussed the lessons that the sea has taught you. I want to learn firstly how you learned to conduct your English when speaking so well, and secondly how that led to actually doing a TED talk.
Great. I mean, thank you for asking this because in our particular Indian space, where of course talking in terms of seafarers only, first of all, the common language on board is only English. I mean, there is no other language. It's only the official language is English. Coming to the first question, I was not very good with communications, and I'm an introvert, so I don't express much. So that's the paradox of what's happening right now. But the point is, if you see my first 10 videos, you will laugh, and you will laugh hard that how is this guy even trying to express something. It's something which is related to breaking the barriers inside your head first, that you will have to come into a situation where you are ashamed of what you're doing first. It is important because only then you can overcome that fear of expression.
Mm.
So I would say it's a hard way to go about it. My English has not been the best, like it's still not the best. But the thing is, there was an attitude which I developed that okay, I'm whatever I'm laughing at myself. But if I'm laughing at myself, then if anybody else laughs, how does it matter? So
Hmm.
first break that barrier. That laugh at yourself, practice it in front of a mirror. You will be amazed how stupid you feel. But it gives you great learning that the next time somebody is laughing at you, you'll be at peace with it. So the greatest problem comes that you think others will are going to laugh at you, others are going to make fun of you, and that's where all the fear starts coming in. It's a evolutionary thing that in a public space you will be in trouble, that if you speak something wrong. It's not happening now. We are in the 21st century. It doesn't work like that, but the mind is still working in that way. So you'll have
Yeah.
to break it pretty boldly and hardly. You'll have to come in that situation, go into a mirror, or perhaps speak to your sister or your brother in English, and they'll laugh at you. But you'll come to a point when it becomes easy and calm, and you'll be past that line of fear. So I personally broke that by looking at myself editing the video and laughing that you are
Mm.
not able to do this, you're not able to express this, you're not able to put your point across. Then I used to show it to my girlfriend. She used to say, you are not doing good by expressing something. So, the honest feedbacks, they work the best. That eventually turned out I used to conduct myself better. Then it took me 2 3 years, being very honest. After 4 years, I've given a TED talk from what I started in the public thing. But yet, before going to TED talk, I had to practice it 5 6 times with my mother, with my girlfriend, and yet I was getting very poor feedback. So it's not that you'll be the best, like the best orator, not born with that gift, but it's only practice and practice with yourself, looking at yourself, record it, hear it, and you'll see. It's an approach. It's a practical thing which you can do on the voice memo in your phone. Try to explain something to a student of whatever you have learned right now. Just a hypothetical student, put him there and express it, record it, and play it. You would not want to hear more than 15 seconds of your voice. First. Second, if you manage to listen through the whole thing, you realize that you make no sense. So that's the first step of you trying to understand how can I be better? How can I be better? There is no other shortcut. There are no books which can help you. There are no podcasts which will help you. There are no gurus out there who can help you by saying this is effective communication. No, you have to do it yourself, and
Yeah.
you will have to learn. So being very honest and upfront that there is no guide there. Yes, somebody can help you like a mirror. They can act as a mirror, but you will have to reciprocally communicate with that mirror every day. So yeah, that's how the communication for me started, by editing, looking at myself, feeling disgusted at a point that I was like, just leave all of this, making a fool of myself. And but you have to get past that. There is no other way. Like, there are no shortcuts, like everybody says. There is no shortcut in communication. And yes, reading is a good medium to learn English. If you read more, your thoughts become clearer. You can express that clearer. So that's my tip to youngsters also. Speak in front of a mirror. I have done it in front of a camera, but if you don't want a camera thing, use a mirror, or perhaps a voice recorder.
Nice. And then, so that's
Yeah.
fantastic advice. How did that
Yeah.
lead to the TED Talk? Where did
Yeah.
this all start? Who reached out to you?
Yeah. So as I said, students are looking up to me. So there were a few students in the TED group who wanted me as a totally different approach to life, from the seafaring background, which nobody knows, to come and speak on a topic called 1 plus 1 is equal to 3. So that was something which I was like, yeah, 1 plus 1, cool. How can be equal to the third element, like the third digit? So the missing element for me was the C. So I tried to correlate that mysterious element, which is the C, and how
Mm.
it can satisfy the equation. So my part was to satisfy the equation that 1 plus 1 is equal to 3 and not 2. So that's how the TED topic came in. So I said, yes, I would love to do it. And C being the mysterious element, I can do justice to it. Of course, practice, I had to practice it. Like I told you, initially I was like, no, I'll just go and speak. But The first practice session, I was doomed. I was like, no, you always need practice. And it's all thanks to my fiance now, that she pushed me to practice. So that's how the TED Talk came in, and that is where it was a real audience sitting in front. So it was not a virtual audience. So the
How
thing
big?
get, yeah, around 250 students sitting in front of you.
Wow.
Yeah, and students. So you have to get this equation right, while at the same time do justice to it. So great learnings, and it came all thanks to social media. See, it all came thanks to social media. I cannot emphasize that enough, because without that, nobody would know me, nobody know what life at sea is. So yeah, I mean, the good part is there, and that's what I try to capitalize on.
What a fantastic achievement. So before the age of 30, we've already discussed some unbelievable, amazing things you've achieved. You've spoke on TED Talks, you've developed a community online. You're probably, I'd say, maybe the most followed Indian seafarer in the world. You're second mate in the biggest shipping company in the world. You're inspiring a generation to consider maritime. But on that point, I want to talk a little bit about something that's probably quite close to your heart, and that is the future of Indian maritimers. Um, so we live in a world nowadays where, frankly, there is much easier way to make money than seafaring, right? In India today, with the economy that's growing very quickly, you can now make money on a laptop sat on a beach making videos or SEO or whatever, right? And that's really, really difficult to compete with, especially when you get all of these videos from influencers who are saying you want to make $1,000 a day from your phone, blah, 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 right? So, how do you think as a country, specifically, because I know that India is the third highest producing country in the world for seafarers. How do you think that the Indian shipping industry can continue to make maritime an appealing option for youngsters?
Great. In fact, thank you for touching upon the topic that you can make money from laptop these days. Why would you want to go out at sea and move away from your family? My personal perspective: doing social media, making money, perhaps not much, but the primary jobs of having a stable income is more important than these marketed jobs of SEO building. These are not sustainable in a long run until you grind so hard that you get recurring income from it first. So the primary source, like shipping, the stabilized income, is extremely important to have in your life, especially in India, because we are a developing country. We are not developed yet. We don't have great, facilities to cope up with. We don't have things like healthcare will be taken care of, education. No, we don't have that yet, unfortunately. You will have to step up with thousands of people stepping onto you. Coming from that perspective, the primary source of income, like the primary jobs, are still very much important first to have an established base. So shipping, coming to that matter, maritime sector, I was overhearing from a webinar recently. There is a plan from the government to have 1,000 plus ships in Indian registry. So they are coming in by the end of the decade or something. So first, job scope is already increasing, particularly of Indian market, Indian ships. Secondly, the shore department will equally have job opportunities based on maritime sectors. This I just overheard. I don't know if it's right or not, but I overheard from trusted personalities from the shipping fraternity. So first that. Secondly, Indians are still in high demand from gas carriers and all of that, which I have come to know from, of course, LinkedIn and all of that.
Yeah,
People are looking at Indian seafarers to come into this field.
yeah.
Now, if you,
The
yeah,
Indian Seafarer is a brand. I was speaking to a
yep,
guy called
hmm,
Summit Yadav. You might know him. He runs a Instagram page called Merchant Navy World. It's got about
right,
140,000 followers. He
right,
came from a university that Praneet Mehta also studied at. I think it's called the Indian Maritime University.
yeah, Mary, MERI,
That's
Mary
right. Yeah.
Institute, yeah,
And I
yeah,
looked into it and I found out that that university has produced more chief engineers than any university in the world,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it
Absolutely.
just goes to show you that the Indian
Yeah.
Seafarer is a brand that is very valuable within shipping.
And they have made a mark. That's why they are still in demand. So if they must be doing something right. So companies are volunteering to have Indian officers or engineers. So that being said, the primary source of income is this. So if you work for it, like of course competition is there, there's everywhere. You cannot deny it. So you will have to work through it. Get yourself a stabilized income. Why I'm emphasizing this? Because people think they'll come in shipping, they'll make social media, and they'll leave it. No, that's not the way you'll come to the harsh reality sooner or later. So the future of Indian shipping, of course, as I've overheard from great people from the maritime fraternity, is looking very good. And institutes, especially in India, are working hard to bridge the gaps with technology also that are coming in, and they're looking to integrate AR, VR, AI in their training curriculum. I recently had a podcast with one of the founders of a great institution in India. He has shed light on how AR VR is being integrated in the maritime training institutes in India, and it was looking really nice. And I have personally experienced also the training of how they conduct. It's getting conducted. So Indian institutes are also trying to bridge the gap between the tech advancements in shipping as well as trying to change the curriculum of studies. So in 2027, I guess the shipping of India is changing the syllabus also. It's a bit outdated, not a bit, quite outdated. They're trying to come up with the recent requirements. So that's something good which I wanted to share here. The future, of course, you can never know the future, but overhearing the situations, it looks good. But you never know, another pandemic comes in, another thing comes in. So you always have to have a backup. And backup could be additional skills. Learn by yourself, like learn editing, learn project management. Coursera is there, Udemy is there. So many courses are there for 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, which are hardly any money. Like you go out on a dinner date, you end up spending 5,000 rupees. In that 5,000 you could do two skills which could value add value in your CV, get you a job if you're not in getting placed. So this is what the reality is, that if you're willing to work, there are alternatives. So I'm just giving a positive outlook, because the negative outlook can come anytime, like COVID-19, we all know, and it can come anytime. A recession can come in, and then of course 2008 shipping took a big hit, lot of unemployment. We don't have any other skill, right? We just are navigators of ship. What do we do now? I'm trying to correlate for the Indian people
Yeah,
also who are watching. What will you do? Nobody will give you a job because you don't have the skills. So in the meantime, if you can build up skills online, put in 1 hour, 2 hour. This is not a motivational talk, but this is practically which I have done, and I've got jobs outside of shipping. So I'm saying it's possible. So it's just something, a practical advice, and I keep talking about this also. That look for alternatives as well for backup. This profession is such that if you lose your limb, your career is finished. Or if you lose your finger, it's gonna go. You can't do anything. What will you do then?
I
So
agree.
this is the most practical advice I could say on the future of shipping for people who are watching, who are cadets. Not in terms of tech and decarbonization, all of that, but purely in terms of me as a junior officer sitting here. If I lose my limb, what will I do?
Yeah, such an important point. I think
Yeah,
diversifying your skills at a young age puts you in a
right,
very valuable position. I think
right,
another thing that's really interesting as well is what you said about the demand for jobs in shipping. When it comes to career, it's all about supply and demand, right? So some people might say, yeah, but I can, like you said, make logos, etc., or SEO. But the problem is right now there are so many people that can do that job. The competition is so high, and what happens when the competition is high is the price gets dragged down, right? So although
absolutely,
you can do that, your compensation is going to be much lower. Whereas, as you said, 1,000 new ships coming into India. this means that the jobs are going to increase, which means your pay is going to increase, which means your compensation is going to increase. So I think what you said is completely right. The key is to have a combination of both a traditional career such as shipping,
Yeah.
while also investing in yourself to understand additional skills like making money digitally,
Right.
and having
And
that combination is
yeah,
perfect.
and you've got 3 months off. No other job in this world I have seen will give you 3 4 months off, and in 3 4 months you can change your entire life. Believe me, I have personally experienced it. If you're willing to, so it all comes down to an individual wanting to do it. If he can, he has all the platforms of social media. LinkedIn is there. You see, I was in a webinar in this maritime summit by Marine Insight. All the top leaders were talking about networking, mentoring,
Mm,
and it's free. It's free. LinkedIn is free. You don't have to get that premium membership to get paid, and monthly subs. You don't. Only thing is you need to have the right skill set to make a cold email, perhaps with the right attitude and right uh, understanding of how the person will respond. So, I mean, everything is free. What is stopping an individual to doing that? So, it all comes down to human elements, then, which is a big subject altogether. But
yeah,
yeah, practical advice is this, that look for an alternative all the time, because you never know what is going to happen. And shipping is the only profession which will give you. And I've spoken to top leaders in from India, and they've all endorsed it, that it was thanks to shipping that they could upskill. In a corporate job, it is too difficult to manage the household things while having a job which is 8 to 8 sometimes, then on calls. So I'm sure you get my point.
yeah. Shipping you can lock in; it's your
Yep.
life.
Yep.
Um, and although that comes with some, some negatives that people talk about, especially
Right.
when it comes to mental health, which is something I want to talk to you about.
Hmm.
It does also have a lot of benefits. Having the
Yeah.
ability to be able to just laser focus on one objective, and I
Absolutely.
think one of the things I think is really interesting when I was speaking to somebody in the PR world of shipping, they
Hmm.
said that shipping really is the last of world's adventures, right? So it's the last adventure that the world has to offer because
Yep.
everything nowadays is so quick, 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 quick. Shipping
Right.
is one of the only last traditional adventures there are.
Beautifully put. Oh, so beautiful that it just gave me goosebumps right now. That was so true. Even aviation is like quick, 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 quick.
Yeah,
But shipping is still in that momentum of absorbing things, letting it, getting it done in time, yes, but it's still that adventure seeking is there. It's died down, but it's still there as per the world right now.
I agree. We touched on it slightly then, mental health at sea. So you've been very vocal about the mental health challenges that seafarers face.
Hmm.
Can you share some of your experiences and thoughts on what more can be done to support the mental well-being of those at sea?
So I'll tell you my personal experience. The first time I hit isolation, which was on the ship, first ship. Being a human being is being a social animal, and put a social animal into a isolation. Of course, negative thoughts will start popping in, which everybody is going through. There's no doubt. And over there, you're literally alone. It's not like you are here in a home at home where you have perhaps someone there to speak to. Over there, you have colleagues, but they are busy with their own schedule. So, for the first time, a social animal goes into isolation. It takes time to adjust to this narrative of life now, that you won't be able to speak to anyone now. Yes, now WhatsApp is there, communication lines are there, yet the physical touch is the most important. There is no
Mm,
compromise on that. You can be vocal, but if you have a hug from your perhaps fiance, girlfriend, or your mother, that has 100% more impact than a telephonic conversation. So
yeah,
first, this is the disadvantage of merchant navy. I can endorse it, that there's nobody over there who's going to come and give you a hug and make you feel everything is all right. Yet, the industry is doing really well by bringing out initiatives of well-being when you are on shore. So there are things which are being carried out, which Maersk is also doing. So I'm very like, this is what I observe. Every month there is some webinar for free on social on mental health, on what can be done in this particular situation. I guess that's the best they can do, and that's the best what I can also think of. So they are taking initiatives. The thing is, are you as an individual volunteering to know about mental health? Are you even aware about the thing that you are actually in some kind of a turmoil? So again, awareness has to be built individually. The company can only help when you yourself want to help yourself. So that's what the my thing is, that if you really are keen on growth, not just material, but of course your human spirit, then first ask for help,
Yeah,
seek it. The guidance is there. There are hotlines, there are helplines. So many seafaring charity institutes have opened up with free helplines. So yes, they are there, but first is you have to break that barrier that if I talk about this, I'll feel low of myself. I'm not strong enough. Let me tell you, I've also been in therapy. It works. It helps. So I endorse it because I've done it. If I would have not done it, I would have been little hesitant about speaking about this therapy thing, like speaking to some psychiatrist, psychologist. But it worked. So if it works for me, it's a realization now that this helps. So if people are inspired by me, I'm telling you, I have done therapy and it works. So you can get inspired that if you're feeling lost, you need help, contact the helplines which are there. I'm sure you will find them easily. In fact, every company's got this. I think it's a rule now, perhaps if I'm not sure, that there has to be a mental health helpline.
yeah,
Somewhere, if you're getting harassed or bullied, you can call your DPA, which is Ashore, a designated person. Speak to him. If they are not helping, that means there's something wrong with the company. So that's like the last line of defense. First, the captain is there, the chief mate are there, the senior officers there. Go tell them. They know what to do. There are a set of procedures which have to be followed. So everything is there. But break that barrier that if I ask help, I'll feel small in my eyes. That's the whole conclusion which I would want to give everybody who is listening to this. Perhaps the aspirants, the seniors perhaps know it, but the aspirants that break that barrier, that no, I cannot ask for help, otherwise my job will go. I'll be considered as someone who is crazy.
yeah.
No, that's not. If you're being felt like the other person making you feel crazy, cut the call, look for someone else, because that's not their job to make you feel crazy. They're there to help. They need to help you, guide you. So yeah,
But the
that's what I
number
want to
one
talk.
number one most important factor that you said is it's okay to not be okay. That is the first thing that they have to accept.
Yeah,
As a seafarer, you are no weaker for thinking that you are in a situation where you maybe can't deal with the
yeah,
mental stress. You are not
right,
weaker for that. If anything, you are
absolutely.
stronger for being able to identify it. So
Yep,
accepting that it's okay to not be okay is so important. And I think that a lot of seafarers, because their job is built around being resilient, a lot of them are probably the sole providers, maybe for their families. There's so much pressure on them that they think
right.
this is they're just naturally meant to take this all on, and that's
Right.
not the case. You're not. You have to understand that seafaring is a very unique situation, and most of the world will never be able to relate to them. So
Yes,
if there is help out there, seek it, use it to the biggest of your advantage.
yes. And when you open up, you exponentially grow. Not, I'm saying not in terms of you'll get more money or something, but you'll exponentially grow to a set that point in your mind. You will want to grow more as an individual.
Yeah,
You will want to do more things. You will not be stuck in a TV of trying to, what I'm trying to tell you here is that you'll not be in that delusion that from the TV the time is passing by and everything will be all right. No, instead you'll be open to learning something, perhaps suppose psychology or consulting or something like that. You'll take a leap forward. You'll learn more about human mind. There are so many things if you learn. They open many skill sets which are practically you can apply. I know personally captains who have gone into a total different domain from being a captain to being a therapist. I mean, look at that. So
so important. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just it's hard to think of it like this in first, but they were open to seeking help. Eventually, that became their career, and they're
Not,
out there.
and not just that, not just that, but
Yeah,
for seafarers. who aspire to one day be a captain, it's
Yep.
so important. So when I spoke to Captain Thomas Lindegaard, he said to me that actually, when you become a captain, the most important skill you have is people skills. But the
Hmm.
only way you're going to be able to love and understand other people is if you love and understand yourself. So, if you do ever wish to become a captain or an officer, period, it's so important that you take care of yourself because you'll never be able to take care of others unless you can really put yourself forward, which is so
Right.
important. And then, like you say, that skill learning doesn't only just elevate you to an officer, that skill can also be applied to so many other industries. I think that that then leads to a different area, which is leadership, and that can take you to the peaks of all
Yeah.
industries. So,
Yep.
but we'll end up talking another hour or so about that. That maybe we can save that for the next one.
And
Leadership is
yes,
what we're talking about.
yes, talking about that, since I spoke to these captains, they all told the common substratum of everything was people management.
Yeah,
If you can manage people, you can manage organization, and that's good for business as well. So yes, like you said, it's a total different 1 hour conversation, and these great people which we aspire to are talking about only people management. That's it.
totally agree.
So yeah.
Closing remarks. I just wanted to learn a little bit about what you're looking ahead to. So, what are your future plans for your maritime career and as a content creator? And how do you see yourself sort of balancing these two passions moving forward?
Right, wonderful, wonderful question. Like I was discussing with you for the past 1 hour, the primary job is me as a navigation officer, because I have a family back home. I am not from a very good background. Like I'm from a middle class background, so I cannot leave everything and do full time content creation. This is what the message is for the people who look at content creators. So for me, the first important thing is to establish a base, which is being suppose a captain, having that credibility that I have what I have started as a cadet, I have reached the pinnacle of this industry, which is being a captain, and then perhaps whatever opens up, transition into that. The first thing is to cover the substratum. Second thing is the backup plan, which I keep talking about, is gathering skills. Skills can be as good as, like you said, the opening conversation, communication is a big skill to learn. If you can communicate, you can get a job easily actually. So communication is a skill. Editing and all is a part-time job I can do anytime, because like you see, the videos I make is solely edited by me, top to bottom. So I've learned that skill. So I keep learning skills. Right now I was learning the skill of podcasting, trying to get comfortable with conversations like this which you're doing, and that's also a skill set to have. Then it comes with networking, it comes with getting to know mentors, which we are all talking about. The big people are talking about only this: have a good network, have mentors, have good communication. There's nothing hi-fi which you have to learn. You don't have to become a scientist in your side part-time. You just need to do small things slowly, and do them right. With having a, I will not say purpose, but understanding that you really like to do this. If you don't like, I have my friends who have done alternate degrees. Suppose doing an MBA in shipping and logistics and transitioning. For me, it was not appealing to me. For me, like you said, I am a quote unquote content creator. So that's something which I think adds value to the people, and it helps me feel fulfilled. At the end of the day, I sleep in peace that yes, I did something, I gave something to people, and we are all seeking that as human beings. I can endorse it. All the great leaders also talk about that. We feel fulfilled now in organization that we can give back. So it's all about giving back. So future plan is taking it one step at a time in terms of developing skills, while at the same time, as you said, doing my studies of reaching the next ranks. And in between, as you say, within next year, if COVID like thing happens, everything changes. So but I'm preparing for the worst, yet expecting the best. So that's the motto. Like I prepare for the worst. Like I told you, a limb can be lost, but I expect the best, that I'll be in good health till I become a captain. So that's the only way I approach it, and keeping it simple. That's something which I have learned over content creation. Keep it simple. No need to have hi-fi edit something extraordinary jumbo. If you keep it simple, the output is also much simpler and clearer for a person to understand. So keep it simple. Like these are all conventional things which everybody talks about, but very hard to do, but they work. So that will be my closing remark. That keeping it simple, yet getting the backup of skill generation, and of course keeping your health in check at all times, physical and mental both. Without that, what's the whole point of doing any of this? So yeah,
Thank you so much. I couldn't have closed it off any nicer, but I will add one last thing,
yeah.
and that is that, and this is directed to you, Karanvir. I am by no means a betting man, but I would bet every money I have to my name that you will be a captain one day, and you will be a very young captain, and you will be one of the greatest Indian captains of all time, because
Thanks, Carla.
you are a very bright light that represents the next generation of seafarers, and your country will see inspiration, and the whole world will see inspiration. You are honestly one of the brightest lights within seafaring, and I really thank you for everything you do for this industry. It is awesome.
Means a lot, Carl, and thank you for giving me this platform to communicate my message. And really appreciate, like I said, what you're also doing. And we would be meeting soon, and I'm looking forward to working with you as well. And let's, like you said, let's do something for the community, which you are doing. And of course, when the word is out there, it automatically, like you say, the universe grasps hold of it and makes it possible. So that's also a big thing which I believe in. If you
I
put your
agree.
word out there, it will happen. So thank you again, Carl, and really appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, Karanvir. And last remarks for those who don't know, Karanvir is coming to my country for 6 months in January. And you better believe we're going to be doing some fun stuff together. So stay tuned. This is just the start.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thanks,
brother.
Carl. Thank you.